So there we go. Let's go. So good evening, everybody. So today we are going to be diving into one of the greatest mysteries of human existence, which is hormones. Yes, those tiny little chemical messengers that somehow manage to control everything in our bodies, from how we feel to what we crave. They're a bit like the backstage crew. We don't see them, but without them, nothing would run smoothly. Let's be honest, sometimes nothing runs at all. We'll cover the basics today and break down some of the common hormonal phrases, and we will also be considering the delightful mess that they sometimes create in our lives. First off, just a few minutes to introduce ourselves as well. So I'm Hannah Hope. I am a women's health nutritionist. I've been doing this for a few years now. I do lots of things with Sam. I don't know if we're sharing ages, Laura, you just did. I'm 48. I've got 3 children myself. I got into nutrition because I was diagnosed with IBS when I was about 14, which was a very long time ago, and literally left to get on with it. By the time I'd had my 3rd child, I was being told it was psychosomatic, so it was all in my head, and that's when I decided to go back and study nutrition because I knew it was just so powerful, and that's what leads me here today. So I do lots of these things with Sam, and I will hand over and she can introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Sam Gold. Laura, thank you so much for having us tonight. Thank you everyone for joining us. So as Hannah just said, well, I'm 48. I didn't realize we were doing ages and everything. I feel like this is like, I'm 48. I've got 3 teenage girls, so you can imagine it's very hormonal in my house. In fact, I could do a whole presentation on that, just teenage hormones. I've got 2 13-year-olds and a 14-year-old, so you can imagine. But actually, when I was in my 20s, I really struggled with my hormones. They were absolutely horrendous. And I think something Laura said earlier, actually, I thought it was really normal for me. And I thought everyone else kind of must have what I had, which is just Jekyll and Hyde mood, increasingly bad pain every month, couple of days off work, etc. And that's not normal. And at that time, even, 20 odd years ago, people didn't really talk about their periods that much. And I really hope that you all walk away from today actually kind of understanding your hormones a little bit more, talking to your friends, your family, your work colleagues. It's something that we should all talk about a little bit more to know what's normal for you and what's to know what's normal for everyone else as well. So alongside my terrible hormones, I also had IBS like Hannah. I went to seek help from someone that wasn't a medical doctor, because I got pushed from pillar to post a little bit. And actually, I realized through the power of nutrition and lifestyle that I didn't have to have all those symptoms that I was dealing with every single month, which are really debilitating. So after I had my 3 children, I changed careers and became a nutritionist because I knew that the power, I wanted to deliver that information and make other women feel as good as I felt after I changed everything in my life too. So hopefully we're going to be giving you some information today on the Hormones 101. So let's start. So what exactly are hormones? So we want you to think of them as little text messages that your body's organs send to each other. So just like sort of group chats, sometimes they're clear and get the job done, arrive in the right place, and other times they create utter chaos. Just think about that mum's WhatsApp group that you're on, PTFA, or the classroom. Utter chaos ensues. But hormones are produced by glands in our endocrine system. So like the pituitary gland, the thyroid and ovaries, and they travel through the bloodstream, telling different parts of your body what to do. Now, the 2 big players that we're going to talk about a lot today are estrogen and progesterone, but they're not alone. Oh no, there's a whole hormonal party going on in our bodies. We have testosterone, which we're going to talk a little bit about. There's cortisol, insulin, and thyroid hormones, to name just a few. But basically, your body is like a hormonal cocktail party. Sometimes it's a chilled out evening inside, and sometimes it's a wild late night that leaves you wondering why you ate an entire pizza at 2 a.m. So let's start with estrogen. We would have, that's one hormone that most people have heard of, but Did you know in the hormone world, it's like the Beyonce? Estrogen plays a huge role in regulating your menstrual cycle, affecting your mood, your skin, and even bone health. It's basically your body's multitasker. And if estrogen had a job title, it would be like Chief Operating Officer. Now, there's an estrogen receptor on every single cell of the body. So you can see that the impact that it has, it just affects everything that we do and feel. So estrogen levels rise and fall throughout your cycle. When they're up, we're feeling pretty good. Estrogen is why during certain parts of the month, we have glowing skin, we can tolerate humans a lot more, and we might even consider wearing jeans and feeling really sexy. But when estrogen dips, well, that's when the chocolate comes out, isn't it? And I think we can all probably relate there. And Netflix gets a bit of a workout and we start questioning our life choices a little bit more, don't we? And who we're hanging out with. But the story doesn't end there. As we get closer to that magical phase known as the menopause, which we're going to tell you a little bit about today, estrogen likes to take a long holiday without telling anyone really when it's coming up. So when that happens, it's like your body's best employee has quit and suddenly hot flashes and mood swings are running the show. And we will get into more of that in a minute.
And so next up is progesterone. So if estrogen is the life of the party, like Sam said, like Beyonce, then progesterone is the one who is quietly tidying up afterwards. So progesterone is a hormone that is produced after ovulation, and it works to balance the effects of estrogen. It helps to regulate the menstrual cycle and prepare the body for pregnancy. So progesterone is like your body's mid-cycle superhero. It shows up right after you ovulate. It's produced by the outer shell of the egg that leaves your fallopian tube, and it heads off on a mission. And its main job is to make sure that your womb is all cozy and ready just in case there's a baby on the way. Basically, it's the ultimate maintenance hormone. It's often referred to as the good one, the balancer, the peacekeeper. But don't be fooled though, it's doing much more than just womb preparation. Progesterone's also busy calming your nervous system, it builds bone, and it also is involved in helping to maintain your breast tissue. It's a definite multitasker, just like the rest of us. So if your cycles are getting shorter, if you've noticed that, it's because progesterone has also decided to take a holiday that month. And this often happens in something called an anovulatory cycle, when your body doesn't ovulate and therefore doesn't make much progesterone. And once you stop ovulating for good, and this is when you're postmenopausal, your progesterone production mostly, not actually completely, it retires as well. So, you know, estrogen looks like it's still working part-time, and that's mainly because it's in your adrenal glands, but progesterone is in there a tiny bit too. Its other superpower, this all ties into everything, is its calming effect. It's like your body's natural antidepressant. So it helps with sleep, it helps to reduce anxiety, and that is key to avoiding that I'm going to throw my phone out of the window phase that you might get. So when progesterone is low, and especially around your period, that's when you'll get things like PMS. So if you've ever found yourself crying over an advert or getting irrationally angry at somebody for breathing too loudly, too close to you, then probably that's because progesterone's a little bit low. The next key player is testosterone. So we also have testosterone. It's actually one of our main hormones. It's thought of as the men's hormone. This hormone helps women with libido, energy levels, and muscle mass. Basically, it's the hormone that makes us feel like we can take on the world, or, you know, that exercise class that we don't want to do. It's like your body's personal bodybuilder. It helps to basically construct everything from bones to muscles to skin, whilst it also obviously breaks down fat. It's doing the heavy lifting job behind the scenes, but that's not all it does. It's got a much bigger job description. It's involved in body composition and muscle mass, and that's probably what we mainly know it for, but it's also the one in control of your sex drive, which you probably know, but also your mood and your overall sense of well-being. Women need enough of it to feel energetic and lean, and this is from the cells in our body to the fire in our souls. When testosterone levels go haywire, though, and that's when you get it in conditions such as polycystic ovarian syndrome, you can end up with things like unwanted hair or acne and a few other issues that make you really question who was designing the hormone system. Yeah, you might want to have a word with them about that. As we age, though, testosterone decides to take a dip, and that's when things start to feel a bit off, along with the other two hormones. You might notice that your energy levels start to tank and your sex drive takes a nosedive, and maintaining a healthy weight suddenly feels like running uphill. Mood swings, brain fog, and just not feeling as vital as you did. That can be low testosterone saying hi. Some women also say it feels a bit like losing their mojo altogether.
I promise you, we're going to tell you highlights soon. These hormones seem very doom and gloom, Hannah, don't they? But I promise you, we will help you. But I'm sure that some of this is probably ringing true, and some of you are probably thinking, oh right, yeah, mojo, libido, things like that. And it's all kind of, hopefully, kind of the jigsaw puzzles clicking together. But one of the key things, obviously, every female has, and we should have been taught a lot more about at school, I'm sure you'll agree, is the monthly roller coaster, which is the most famous hormone-driven experience in a woman's life, which is the menstrual cycle. But let's just have a little recap, because I think it's really important to understand this a little bit more. There's 4 phases of the hormonal and menstrual cycle. Days 1 to 7 are the menstrual phase. So this is when estrogen and progesterone, which we've just learned about, they drop and you start your period. It's like your body hitting the reset button, really, if we want a better word, but it can feel like the reset button is a little bit stuck quite often. You may be tired, a little irritable, and craving comfort foods. And let's be honest, on day 1, you don't tend to want to lean in. You want to lie down quite often. And this goes back to what I was talking about, my own experience when I was younger. This was just hideous for me, but there is stuff that we can do to help it. Days 7 to 14 are known as the high energy and focus. This is called the follicular phase. This is, here comes estrogen and rising like a phoenix, and you're feeling more energetic, your skin looks great, and maybe you've even feeling social. This is when to make your social plans. This is when to take on board more work at more kind of presentation skills, or kind of put your hand up at work or wherever you are, kind of thing. You've kind of got that energy and that kind of vibe that you can do anything. So this is when your body is prepping for ovulation, and it's like your biological calendar is saying this is a good time to date or do something really ambitious. So this is the good phase that we all really, really like. And then ovulation is generally days 14 to 21. This is all based on a 28-day menstrual cycle, obviously. So ovulation is when estrogen peaks and testosterone gives you that little bit of a boost, and you are feeling confident, sexy, and full of life. If this phrase were a movie, the soundtrack would be I'm Every Woman. You should be doing that talk at work. Like I said, this is the other phase that you should be doing this. And often when we kind of feel too shy to do it, there are reasons. Our hormones are dictating how we feel. So this is also another good take on those kind of fearful things that you often don't want to do. And the final phase is the luteal phase. Our progesterone, here we go again, the hormone of good intentions. It's trying to keep you calm, but if you didn't get pregnant, it's also preparing for the end of the cycle. Cue bit of bloating, irritability, and cravings. So, you know, this is where 1 minute you are absolutely fine, and the next you are crying over that puppy video, or as we used to say, the Andrex puppy advert, or could be EastEnders even. It could be anything. But it's just a really quick reminder at this point that you should all really be tracking your cycle if you aren't already. There are so many apps out there now, but actually if you have an iPhone, and I'm sure other Android phones have this, in the health app, you can track your cycle. It's really, really easy. And you can even download all the information you've input there into a PDF to take to any kind of nutritionist if you're seeing them, or medical practitioners as well, because your cycle is so important to track.
We go through different times of hormonal transitions in our life. You may notice some of them, you may have been through them, you may be gone through all of them, you never know. But this is a time basically when we've got hormonal imbalance. It first starts off with puberty. And like Sam was saying, you know, this might be going through that with your own children, or you remember it yourself. It's like getting the instruction manual for your body, but there's pages missing and no one's there to explain it. We were talking about this. We wish that, you know, someone had told us all about hormones and what they do. They're ramping up. Progesterone's low, estrogen's high, like we just spoke about, and you've got mood swings and you're growing, and then you get acne, and it's just basically a hormone free for all, and that can last a little while for them. The next phase that you may experience is pregnancy. If you've been pregnant, or you know somebody that has, you know that pregnancy hormones are just on another level. Estrogen and progesterone are skyrocketing and making you feel everything at once. You may end up with a boy pregnancy, and then you'll get testosterone levels as well, and you might be feeling everything. You've got joy and tears, and then of course there's all the cravings, and you know, you need weird food and that sort of thing, and you know, or just having a nap wherever you can find a flat surface to do that on. And one of your last phases of hormonal imbalance will be perimenopause, and finally menopause. So this begins with a 3 to 10 year lead up. Perimenopause can last that long, and you will have lots going on. It's a bit like what they call the second puberty. It's a bit like your body's grand finale with hormones. Not you. You have a lot to do after that. It's wrapping things up, but there's lots going on, lots of fireworks, like they'll be coming up soon. Basically, estrogen and progesterone naturally are starting to decline, but at different levels. So, you know, estrogen might be really high while progesterone's low, and it will just be this roller coaster that's happening. And like we spoke a little bit about those hormones earlier, when these things are, you know, in disarray, you can get things like hot flashes, you can get mood swings, anxiety, insomnia, and a whole new level of this, I'm done with this nonsense. And that is due to the hormones just being all over the place. Menopause itself is just one day when you haven't had a period for 12 months. And then after that, you're postmenopausal. So I know there's lots of talk about the menopause, but essentially that's just one day.
So we wanted to give you some practical tips. So how can we keep this hormonal roller coaster on track? While we can't control everything, there are things you can do to make yourself feel better. Obviously, eating a balanced diet. Now, Hannah's going to go into this in a bit more detail. But your hormones love healthy fats. Think avocados, oily fish, salmon, olive oil. We need healthy fats to make our hormones. We need fiber and plenty of vegetables, but also let's not pretend chocolate isn't necessary, because that's always necessary. We need exercise. It helps balance cortisol and keeps insulin in check. Plus those endorphins help with mood. Seriously, we need kind of to do exercise, get out in some fresh air. And actually we need to go out, you know, and do this kind of stuff, because if you don't use it, you kind of do lose it, and it's harder to get back on track with your exercise if you don't do anything. So even just one thing you need to do is just get out, move daily for 30 minutes, get in the get outside in the fresh air. You'll never regret that walk, and you will always feel better for it as well. And it does help regulate your hormones. Now, sleep, you'll hear nutritionists talk about sleep an awful lot, because I think we all know that your hormones will go haywire without sleep. Your mood will go haywire. Who has, like, you know, 4 hours sleep and the next day wants to eat really healthy? Nobody. Who has 4 hours sleep and the next day wants to go out for a run or do a weight training exercise? No one. So if you prioritize, it really does have to be sleep. And it's really important to acknowledge that as soon as you wake up in the morning, your circadian rhythm kicks in. And that, from the moment you wake up, that's when your sleep cycle starts. So if you wake up in the morning, you open your curtains, you see the daylight, it will kickstart your circadian rhythm, and a good night's sleep starts from that moment. So it's not when you switch off the light at night. That's not what your sleep pattern is going to start. It starts first thing in the morning. Everything you do will affect how you sleep that night. So that is why it's really important. You know, lack of sleep, you know, it has such a huge impact. And we all know that we need that beauty sleep, ladies, the older that we get. So please, one thing, prioritize that. The next thing that's a little bit harder to control, which we all know about, is stress. And cortisol, a lot of you have heard of this. We could do a whole big, huge presentation on cortisol alone. I'm afraid we haven't got time for that tonight. Maybe that's another one, Laura, one day. But cortisol is a stress hormone, and it can mess with everything. So whether it's yoga, meditation, or a weekly reality TV binge, find what helps you relax. Life is stressful, so you need to give yourself some time to switch off. And one of the things Hannah and I often tell our clients is go back in time and have a think about what makes you really happy. Maybe it was an exercise class that you used to do. Maybe you used to go roller skating or ice skating. Hannah's just took up netball again. You know, it's sometimes going back to, you know, childhood or teenage years, or in your early 20s when life was kind of a little bit more freer. Go back and think, what did I used to enjoy doing? And actually try and re-energize yourself with that again. But really, it is, we all live in a really stressful, you know, time, and everyone's super busy, and people kind of compete saying, well, I've got a really busy day and I'm more stressed than you. It is really hard to find time for yourself, but it's also really, really important to find time for yourself, even if it is 5 minutes, even if it's just setting aside 5 minutes to read that book, listen to that podcast, go for a walk, hug an animal. You know, that's what I do most of my days, is hug my dog. But it's really, really important just to find that one thing for yourself. And we always encourage you to practice some form of mindfulness, whether that's writing in a journal, doing yoga, meditation, just something that will just bring down your cortisol levels.
Although I would say netball's probably a bit dangerous at my age.
It's too dangerous at our age.
Just someone hurts themselves every week. I mean, I love it.
keep getting injured. Yeah, so do a new sport if you take it up again.
Something, yeah, exactly. And like Sam was talking about, you know, mindfulness can be different, but even just going for a walk without a podcast, with just being with your own thoughts, you know, not taking that phone call, anything like that. You don't have to physically sit down and do it.
That's really important, actually. My daughter is we're just encouraging her to actually, Hannah, to go out for walking the dog, but without her phone, without anything. And I think that is so important. I live in Farnham in Surrey, but you know, like in St Albans, there's lots of green space, and it's actually so important just to be at one with nature, isn't it? Just to not have something in your ear or listening to something. So yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, and we can back that up with science as well. There are scientific studies on that.
Yeah.
But what else let's go back to hormones. And actually, this is what Sam and I do. This is nutrition, and how nutrition can actually help your hormones. So you can basically, what you eat can make you either like a hormone whisperer, or it can throw your hormones into total chaos. Well, you can't control every hormone that your body produces because, you know, well, life, and we've just spoken about that. You can definitely influence how well they behave by choosing the right foods, even maybe not M&Ms. We know you weren't eating M&Ms. It's a bit like, oh, you remember the film from the 80s that if you fed a mogwai after midnight, it basically would turn into a gremlin. You know, your body's a bit similar. If you give it the right thing, it's not going to turn into that unfriendly gremlin. Now, Sam has already mentioned healthy fats, and these are the foundation of hormone production. So hormones, especially progesterone and estrogen, they need healthy fats to function properly. Think of it as giving your hormones the premium fuel that you'll find at the petrol station. Things like omega-3 fatty acids, and you can find these in salmon and walnuts and chia seeds and avocado, which are actually really delicious. And these help your body to produce hormones in a really balanced way. As a bonus as well, omega-3s, the ones I've just mentioned, they're also anti-inflammatory, so they can combat the bloating and the irritability that tend to pop up a lot before your period. I mean, Sam already spoke about the luteal phase, and I know that you'll want to be eating chocolate and crisps and things like that, but if you can add in some of these healthy fats, it's really going to help some of your symptoms. There's lots of talk about saturated fats, but if you get them from good sources, things like coconut oil or really good butter, they can also help with hormone production. And if anyone tells you to avoid fat, tell them to bugger off, and that your hormones need it to survive. Without these healthy fats, your body will just go into panic mode. It won't know what to do, and those hormone signals that we were talking about in your body, they will just go haywire. So, just eat the guacamole. It's delicious. Also protein, everybody talks about protein these days, but nobody actually mentions the fact that we need protein to make our hormones. Basically, proteins contain amino acids, which you're probably aware of, and they're the building blocks, well, for everything in your body, but also your body uses them to create and to regulate your hormones. So, I mean, whether it's from things like lean meats or eggs or beans, you can get it from plant-based sources like quinoa and lentils. Getting enough protein will ensure that your hormones are well fed and ready to go to work for you in a good way. Sam also mentioned fiber to you. Super important. This is how your body will help detox these hormones. You need to get them out. So, I mean, thinking about it, you ever notice how certain foods will help your bowels to start moving? That's fiber. And fiber, especially from things like leafy greens and whole fruits and grains, vegetables, those sorts of things, they help your body to eliminate excess hormones. And that's really important, because if you get estrogen sticking around in your body, it just doesn't work properly and it causes chaos in there. That's where you'll get things like PMS as well. So getting enough fiber is really important. Keeps the hormone detox cycle running. It's a bit like, think of it like Marie Kondo clearing up your hormone closet. But yeah, really helpful for liver detoxification, all those things, really important for your hormones.
I was thinking we're like the good cop, bad cop here. I'm about to tell people what they shouldn't have, and I get that. I get it. You get the good stuff, I get the bad stuff. But we've got there's certain foods that we do need to reduce to balance our hormones. And let's talk about sugar, or as we like to call it, the sneaky hormone thief. When you eat lots of refined sugar or carbs, it causes spikes and crashes in your blood sugar. This roller coaster ride doesn't just mess with your energy, it throws your hormones completely out of whack too. And when your blood sugars spike, your body releases insulin, which, as we know, is another hormone, which can affect how your ovaries work. So too much insulin can lead to increased testosterone as well. And if you've got something like PCOS, that can have a major effect on how you can cope with that. So the trick is to balance your blood sugars by eating whole grains, complex carbs, as Hannah was saying, and pairing them with proteins and fats. So, if you have, a piece of toast for breakfast, have it with some avocado or some eggs or, peanut butter or something. We're all about kind of, if you have protein, have it with the healthy fats as well. It will kind of balance your blood sugar so they don't lead to that massive spike and the 3 p.m. crash, which we hear so regularly with all of our clients. They're just feeling okay, and literally at 3 p.m. they just want to go for a snooze. So really think about what you're eating and how you can make it kind of balance your blood sugars a little bit more. And then there's the caffeine. I know, I'm sorry, I love coffee, don't worry, Hannah. Hannah doesn't have caffeine, but I do. But caffeine and wine are basically best friends, aren't they? With chocolate, especially during PMS times. But here's the thing, too much caffeine can increase your cortisol levels, and it can really affect your sleep, which is what we've just been talking about, how important that is. It can cause anxiety, irritability, and mess with your sleep. There's quite often the cases we have clients and they say, but I've been having teas all my life. And I'm like, but you've got crap sleep. And and it's like, they'll be like, but it doesn't affect me. The caffeine doesn't affect me. And then we say, okay, let's reduce it to, 2 a day maybe before midday. And hey presto, sometimes they're sleeping better. So you really have got to sometimes look at what you are doing, and kind of try and balance it out. Alcohol, we know it can be fun, but it can affect your liver so much, which is essential for detoxing your hormones. It can't do both at the same time. It has to make a judgment. And as alcohol is a poison, it kind of starts working on ridding your body of the alcohol before it deals with your hormones. And then you've potentially got recirculating hormones in your body, and those PMS symptoms, you're going to feel worse. You're going to get more irritable, more bloated, etc. It's because your liver can only do so much. So, we're not saying, I'm not that much of a bad cop, but think about reducing things, depending on your starting point. If you have 4 cups of coffee a day, start reducing it. Don't go cold turkey, because you'll feel awful and hate us for the rest of your life. But, start reducing it. Definitely don't have caffeine after midday. And really start thinking about, are you sneaking in caffeine during the kind of afternoon, sometimes evening? I often get asked if I want a coffee in the evening. I'm thinking, really, how do people do this? And just be realistic with yourself about alcohol too. I think during COVID, I know that's a while back now, but I think everyone started drinking way more than they were used to at home. And I think a lot of people are still in that habit of doing it. So really just try and have a think about, do you need that second, third, fourth glass of wine? Could you kind of have a water definitely in between the glasses for sure? But just have a think about how your body and liver are going to react to that for the next day as well. So just everything in moderation, ladies. And so let's talk about sort of micronutrients. They might be tiny, but they really are quite mighty. So certain vitamins and minerals are key players in hormone balance. One of the ones we use all the time and talk about all the time is magnesium. It's something that most people are somehow deficient in. So think of magnesium as the chill pill for hormones, really. It helps reduce stress. It can lower cortisol levels. It aids in balancing progesterone. And it's often found in foods like leafy vegetables, almonds, and dark chocolate. So, I'm not on the bad place. We often ask our clients to have Epsom salt baths as well, because that's something that if you're really struggling with your sleep a little bit more, kind of have a 20-minute warm bath with some Epsom salts in. It'll really relax the muscles, good for after the new sports that you're going to take up after today, like Hannah's netball. Your muscles will thank you for that, and it will just ease kind of down any anxiety as well. The other one that's really important is vitamin D. Technically, it is a hormone. Vitamin D helps regulate insulin and crucial for reproductive health. It does so many things in the body. But you can, obviously, we know it's a sunshine hormone. You can get it from sunshine. However, we severely lack that in this country, don't we? From sort of now until, I don't know, April, I want to say. So you can get it from foods like fish and fortified milk. And it is a really, people talk about getting sad over the kind of winter months because the sunshine obviously, is a kind of good for our happiness. So it really is quite important. A lot of people that are deficient in vitamin D actually do get really fatigued. They do often get depressed, low moods, etc. So it is something to really think about, and you can get tested for vitamin D quite easily. The other ones that are really important and go side by side with hormones are B vitamins, particularly B6. These vitamins help with hormone metabolism, especially around PMS time. And you can find them in whole grains, eggs, and even bananas as well. So dark leafy greens and chocolate, so you've got the balance there. And we always talk about as nutritionists, we also often get said, you just ask people to eat a lot of broccoli. Yeah, because broccoli is really, really good for you. But we're also not that mean. You can have dark chocolate too. So there you go.
Dark chocolate on your broccoli. Just eat
Yeah,
all the
it's a new thing.
eat as much of it as you can. Well, basically, to sum up, what you eat has a massive impact on your hormone health. Think of it as providing the right tools for the job. So when you eat a balanced meal with healthy fats and proteins, fiber, and the key vitamins that Sam was just talking about, you're giving the hormones the support they need to keep things running smoothly. Hormones sometimes feel a bit like an unpredictable wild ride, but there are definitely ways that we can manage the stress a bit better. Nutrition that we've just spoken to you about, exercise, sleep, and stress management are basically the 4 pillars of hormone harmony. So take care of them, and your hormones are likely, hopefully, to stay in line at least most of the time. So thank you so much for joining us on this journey through our Hormones 101. So you can now go and enjoy avocado toast and some dark chocolate with the broccoli, as I was saying. And remember, when in doubt, it's probably your hormones, but a good way to work it out, as Sam has already mentioned earlier on, is just to start tracking them and see if you see a pattern anywhere.
Obviously this has been a quick snapshot of hormones. And I think I mentioned earlier, we could literally do a whole presentation on just estrogen alone and what it does for you in the body. So we really do hope that you've got some kind of snapshots of everything today, and it's going to help you. But we are actually running a 28-day hormonal reset from Monday, the 4th of November. For anyone that hasn't done one of our group programs today, they're our favorite things to do, because basically we get a tribe of like-minded women together that are really supportive, and it's always great fun. But it's 28 days worth of recipes, which is, breakfast, lunch, dinner, some snacks and drinks. The shopping list is there for you. The recipes are normally really easy, full of colour, definitely no USPs, there's no it's cooking from scratch, but with ease. And there's lots of batch cooking involved in it as well, so it's not too onerous for you. We also have Wellness Wednesdays, which we invite guest speakers on. So we've got this year, I think we've got Pilates instructors, we've got some PTs, we've got some, who else we've got? There's some physicians kind of thing coming on to give us talks. And obviously Hannah and I are on hand every single day, 2 nutritionists and health coaches on a private WhatsApp group, private Facebook group. And we also really offer people, if they really don't want to talk kind of over a group, we do people do DM us as well, but we provide educational videos and posts on hormones, food and lifestyle in a lot more detail than what we've gone through today. And we've got a special offer for you today as well. It's £145 for 28 days. And I think Laura's going to put a link on the group for you. But if you've got any questions at all for us now, or in the group chat, I think Laura will kind of read them out for you if you like. But no question is a silly question, because I can guarantee that if you're thinking it, someone else is too. So thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you. I will just stop sharing now.
Thank you, lovelies. I have hands up done a couple of Sam and Hannah's programs before, and even now, even if I don't stick to everything 100%, it's totally stuck with me to make sure that my breakfast is much better. So the temptation is always there to get the piece of toast, and I'm like, nope, I'm channeling my inner Sam and Hannah, and it's all, and I've got my whole cupboard now, which I feel is, since doing the program, the cupboard is there. I open the cupboard, it's got the nuts, the seeds, the dark chocolate, it's got the collagen, the protein powder, so I've just got the stuff there. The good yogurt's always in the fridge. I'm just trying to make my life easier, thinking that if I've at least got the protein or eggs in as well in the morning or something, even if the rest of the day isn't perfect. But that has definitely stuck with
that's so
me.
lovely to hear. Breakfast is literally, I think, such a missed opportunity for nutrition. And that's often the first place we start with people, because I think we live in quite a tea and a toast kind of society, don't we? Like you said, people grab things in the morning, what they're used to. It's quick and easy. But actually, as you've learnt, Laura, it's really, really quick and easy to put something else together, whether it's a smoothie, yogurt, nuts, seeds, kind of stuff. So,
or something, overnight oats or something like that. And I think I don't always feel like eating in the morning.
Yeah.
I know there's different opinions on should you fast a bit in the morning, but I know I was guilty sometimes of having that coffee before I'd eaten. So now as well, I make sure that I'm not having the caffeine until I've had breakfast. I also have in my head, stop the caffeine after 12. Because the thing is, well, no, I'm definitely not a top student. A lot of the bad habits have started to creep back in, but I certainly noticed if I'm having more caffeine, if I'm having it later in the day, I think it's not having, like you say, not having an impact on my sleep. But I'm definitely not getting either as deep or nourishing sleep, and I'm more likely to wake up with 3 a.m. anxiety. And it's like, boom, there's a lion in my room. There obviously isn't, but that my body literally wakes me up. And that also happens if I've been eating a lot of sugar. And so I think that's sometimes, is that to do with cortisol as well?
Yeah, it's your blood sugar level. I mean, I think this is the thing Sam and I do as health coaches, really, Laura, you've just worked out what the problem is. You know, like you talk it through and you realize that. But yeah, caffeine and sugar will send your body off on some blood sugar roller coaster. So when it does get to 3 in the morning, you know, it's where your blood sugar is like spiked, it's falling out of like the sky, and your body thinks it's in danger. So like you said, you wake up and you're like, what's going on? You know, it's the same with alcohol. You know, when you wake up at that time, it's because your body's like, am I in danger? Oh my goodness. It's because your blood sugar has crashed, and it's like, oh, I need to help myself. What do I need to do? So, you know, you definitely have worked out what the issue is. So, you know,
it's hard though, giving those things out. I mean, it helps that I've been off the booze for 5 years. So I think that kept me on an even keel. And now that the hormones are changing, I think that's had an impact. Jo, good to hear that since Saturday night in my house, she's not having caffeine since Saturday. Well done. First thing in the morning, Jo. Well done. I know we've got a couple of people that are curious to know if you are on the pill or have a coil, how does that affect understanding where you are with those sort of hormonal monthly cycles and what's going on?
I mean, I can tell you about the coil. Maybe Sam can cover the pill if she wants to, but I don't have the coil. You know, we were talking about that doctor wants to give everybody the coil, but you still do cycle on it. You know, when I'm talking about a cycle, I'm talking about a menstrual cycle, but it's quite, you have to really tune into your body. You know, I have friends who are like, oh, and I have the coil, I don't cycle, and I think you get really bad PMS, you just don't know, you just think it's something else. So you may not be bleeding because, you know, obviously it's implanted in your womb, but you will have a source of synthetic progesterone in there. That's what's in there. But you just have to tune into your body more. You know, there will be times, and you'll be, like Sam was talking about with the follicular phase, you know, you're not going to be releasing an egg because your body already thinks that, you know, there's nowhere for, well, actually, are you? I think you must be releasing an egg. Sorry, we're not overly well versed in these things, you know, we're not medical doctors, but you will still be going through those phases that Sam was talking about. You just have to, well, track it, just like Sam was saying.
The pill, you've got to understand, like you said earlier, it's kind of understanding your body actually. So although kind of when we're saying tracking your menstrual cycle, we want you to track your mood, your tiredness, your sleep, kind of your mojo, you know, we were talking about earlier, you know, because you know, sometimes you wake up, don't you, think, oh, there's no way I can go to the gym today. You know, write those things down. I've got no energy. But also you will start associating things like, well, actually, what did I eat yesterday? How do I feel today? Kind of. So it's really kind of, as a female, being really in tune with your body, whether you're on the pill, on the coil, kind of, you know, you think you're perimenopause, whatever. Just really listen, write stuff down, and you might end up working out kind of, oh, okay, so I'm on the coil, but actually this time 28 days ago, I felt exactly the same as I did now, sort of thing. So you'll kind of work that out, whether it's mood, physical.
And you will still, you will still head into perimenopause if you're on the coil.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people often get put on the coil because they're bleeding heavily. Now they're more likely to be bleeding heavily because their estrogen is higher. So they're given the coil to give themselves some sort of synthetic progesterone, but you know, you will still be, you know, going through perimenopause at that point. And so you've just got to still work on things like lifestyle, nutrition, stress management. You know, the coil is not going to fix everything. And also have a think, if you've been on the pill for a long time, you know, your body is going to be nutritionally deficient. It's suppressing ovulation. It makes you deficient in like lots of things like B vitamins, vitamin C. There's lots of studies around there. So if you're on the pill, maybe have a look, do some studying around it as to, you know, what effects it can have on your body. And think about where you're at. Or Sam and I cannot talk to you about your own contraception and, you know, your choices that you make on it, but just make sure that you're well informed about all of it.
Yeah.
Can I say something on that, Laura?
Please do.
So I was the one who asked that question about the coil. So I'm 54 and suddenly was bleeding like horrendously, like I did when I was 18. So it was like, well, we'll just put the coil back in. It'll save you with everything, and just slap on 2 to 4 pumps of estrogen and you'll be fine. Well, I wasn't fine. I started to bleed every day for 3 months, which it was like, you know, it was like no one picked that up as a problem when actually it was a huge problem. I ended up having to go privately, sort it out, and it was the fact that I was taking too much estrogen. So, you know, the problem is that what you've said now in this short period of time, in a good blend of scientific background, but also human speak, you know, which makes it understandable, makes you feel far more empowered, which I just feel in the busy modern life that we're in, and you hit these changes in your body, no one's actually educating you. You just grab at whatever because you want it to stop, you know, and that's the issue. And so for me, what my biggest takeaway is, I can still track. I've never even thought about tracking the mood. I just go, oh, well, it's perimenopause. But actually, if I could track it, I will maybe be a bit kinder to myself.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's really important. I think, you know, women aren't kind to themselves because they think sometimes, you know, I'm just really moody, or, you know, I've got no energy to go out for that, you know, walk or see friends. I'm just, you know, socially recluse or whatever. So it can be so many different things, can't it? And I think actually being kind to yourself is just so important. But understanding, like you've just said, sort of thing, tracking things, understanding what you're going through. And as Hannah said, you know, often it is kind of the hormones kind of talking for you. But I think the key thing there is that it's a real jigsaw puzzle. And you obviously, medical doctors will talk to you about coils and HRT and stuff like that. Well, we won't talk to you about that. We've got nothing against it. But if you are on HRT, for example, or on the coil, there are as many nutritional and lifestyle things you should and could be doing. And that's what's really important. I think often people kind of maybe, you know, and a lot of people might not be at that stage, but they might kind of start taking HRT. You still got to look after yourself. It's not you know, it's not going to fix kind of all the problems if you still drink, you know, a bottle of wine a night and kind of eat ultra processed food all day. You know, you've got to really kind of be mindful of everything you do, everything you put in your body, everything externally that you do as well, and be really mindful of that. So that's kind of where we come from. We come from that angle, saying there's so much you can do with nutrition and lifestyle. you know, hormones are really complicated. We've tried to kind of do the hormones 101 today, you know, at a basic level so that it's kind of easier to understand. But yeah, I'm glad that it's helped. And it's really good that if you can still kind of listen and track and kind of go forth with the information that you've got, for sure.
Yeah, and just focus as well on, you know, with your high estrogen, the stuff that Sam and I were talking about, as making sure that estrogen's not reabsorbed into your body and you get it out, you know, so it's eliminated with the fiber, and your liver, you know, working well by giving it lovely leafy greens, and, you know, making sure it's not overloaded with alcohol and sugar. So those things just to keep everything moving out of your body, so it's just, you know, you can help those higher estrogen levels.
I think the other thing is not striving for perfection, because you know, so I've taken on a lot of lifestyle changes, all for the positive, but there have been days, and Laura will know this, where I literally, Netflix is my friend, and because I'm driven, then I'll beat myself up against that, because I can't be doing that. It's, you know, that, you know, watching Netflix or just having a day where I'm not able to achieve, then that becomes a major negative. But actually, if I'm following my plan, watching my hormones, doing well, everything else right, that's okay. We're not striving for perfection. And I think that's also something I've just realized today.
That's great that you said that, because you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, Hannah and I are very aware that we say to people, you know, eat this, do that, but we are realists, aren't we, Hannah? We're like, if you need the chocolate, you need to lie down on the sofa and watch Netflix. That is what your body needs. You know, we would never tell you to go out and run 5K that day. You know, just, oh, I've got the thing again. Getting these kind of thumbs up things. Sorry, that wasn't me. But it's really, really important. That's when it's about being kind to yourself, you know, and if you pushed yourself that day, the next day you'd probably feel really bad. So just listen and just be. We all need those days, don't we? Like a duvet day, you know, where we just snuggle up, and definitely through the winter months. And it's not gonna, if you're eating stuff really, really well most of the time, you're kind of living that good lifestyle, that's enough, you know. You are allowed to do other things. It's not naughty, you know, it's just, we're just human, aren't we?
I love a Netflix and chocolate day.
I love,
I allow myself to have those. I'm like, no, that's okay. I've achieved something today. I'm just gonna lay down and watch Netflix and eat some dark chocolate.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when Beyonce is not us, right? That's where we're Miney Granger or something, you know. We don't need to be every day.
Yeah. Do you, just quickly, because I know we said we'd try and wrap up now, but as well as sort of tracking hormones, keeping maybe a food diary to see how that correlates, do you think in the beginning that's helpful? Or
I think definitely if you have symptoms, you know, even hormonal symptoms, if they're not, you know, bloating can definitely be a problem in the second half of your cycle, whether you're on the coil or not, you know, it's just something that can happen. So, you know, you might want to correlate that in with what you've been eating, you know, it might be dairy, it might be gluten, it might be beans, you know, it might be whatever, you know. Your gut health's super important, and like Sam said, that could be a whole nother talk. Gut health's really important with your hormones. And if your gut isn't, you know, performing as it should, or, you know, it might be a bit leaky, or it hasn't got all the good bacteria in it, that can have a really big effect on your hormones, because you have a load of bacteria in there that actually help detoxify estrogen. You know, it's called an estrobolome in your microbiome. So yeah, keeping a food diary as well, and it will also enable you to work out what variety of food you're eating. You know, are you eating the same thing all the time? Because that's also not going to help your gut.
Yeah. And I realised with your programs that I wasn't eating enough protein, and actually I wasn't eating enough. With your program, I was like, oh my goodness, this feels like a lot of food. And I think it was, but that was probably a positive for me to realise that and think, actually, I need to be making sure I'm having proper meals, not snacking on the go all the time.
And the variety, right? I think that's,
and that protein as well, getting that
variety, which the microbiome needs, you know, color, protein. So yeah, I think that's one thing that people have that real takeaway from our programs, definitely.
Just one quick question here, if we can just squeeze it in. I know a lot of people experience this, that slump after you've eaten what seems like a healthy-ish meal.
I
Is
mean,
there usually a reason?
yeah, I mean, you might not be able to tolerate it properly. It might have too many carbs in it. Is it just an afternoon slump or after you've eaten a particular meal?
I'm trying to remember what this person told me the other day.
After eating lunch. What sort of things are you having for lunch? That might be key.
And if you've skipped breakfast and then had
a sandwich and a packet of crisps and a chocolate bar, then after lunch you are very likely going to crash, and you'll be like, oh, I'm just so tired.
What we've got here: bread, avocado, tomatoes, and feta cheese.
Could be the bread.
With bread, so no chocolate or crisps though.
Well
no chocolate or crisps. Well, I mean, yeah, it sounds delicious actually. But it could be the bread. You know, it could be anything. I mean, it's like I said, it depends on what you've done, how much, and the volume of what you've had. I don't think everyone feels tired after a Christmas lunch, right? Because we overeat. But I think what you've got there is potentially try a different bread or try it without bread. We're not, by the way, against kind of carbs, by the way. This is just you know, looking at what you've had there, it looks very good. So
maybe some more protein, that will help. That will also stop an afternoon slump. I know that's not what you've asked, but I mean, I think like Sam was saying as well, you know, what if you've done like a really heavy exercise class in the morning, you know, you are just going to be a bit tired, you know, you're refueling your body there, and it will just want to, you know, it's hard for it to keep going all the time if you're, you know, doing like heavy workouts. Yeah, I would just up the protein. You know, you could have that delicious lunch and, you know, try it with some quinoa, or, you know, like Sam said, try a different bread, or just have one slice instead of two. Just keep a
heavy workouts.
No heavy workout. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess maybe if you keep a track, it could have been something that you had the night before. You might
yeah. You might not have had enough sleep, you know, it might have been a stressful morning. There are lots of things there. I mean, sometimes feeling sleepy after you've eaten can be a bit of a sign of intolerance, and you will only know if you change what you're eating and see how you feel. Just like you said, keep a track of a food diary as well. I know it's lots, but lots of tracking to do, but it's so amazing to know your body and to know what it's doing and how it can react. You know, Sam and I will talk to you about the life-changing things of nutrition, you know, me and IBS, Sam and hers and her hormones, and you know, it is life-changing if you know your body and what's happening and how you can make it function better.
Yeah, because like you said earlier, it's the HRT, the Coil, the pill, they're all great for some women and certain periods of your life, but it's not necessarily the 100% answer to everything. And if you can do things for yourself, if you can get to know your body, you can advocate better for your body and what you need if that becomes necessary. And yeah, we're not saying nutrition is the wonder cure, but it can make such a difference. I certainly felt it when I've done your programs before.
Yeah,
it's like a jigsaw, all the pieces together.
Yeah. And I don't think some people don't realize how bad they felt until they feel better, if that makes sense. You know, they think, you know, they're so used to their norm, aren't they? Whether it's just fatigue, kind of a low level fatigue all day, low energy, slight headaches, bloating. And then actually when they eat better and change their lifestyle and they feel better, they're like, wow, I thought what I had was normal, how I felt was normal, you know? And we've had that quite a lot as well on, you know, one-on-one clients or kind of on our programs. I didn't know how bad I felt.
Yeah, I mean, my mental health, I mean, it's definitely still not perfect, but definitely improved when I gave up alcohol. It took a lot. It was over a year, but again, I just felt that it really helped to get to know myself better and my moods and what was normal for me.
And anxiety as well is a big one that helps. You know, a lot of people suffer with anxiety, and I think often alcohol and caffeine sometimes can have a huge impact on that.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not just the beer fear in the morning, as they say.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just checking. I think we are. Lovely. Absolutely. Thank you for all your comments. I will share those with Hannah and Sam after. I did put in the link to the hormonal program, but I will send that out to everyone in an email as well, with the lovely discount that Hannah and Sam have offered us. And people can contact you just to work with you one-to-one if they're not interested in a program as well, and you can sort of help with supplements and all sorts of things.
Hormonal, we do lots of testing,
hormonal testing, testing.
Lots of programs throughout the whole year.
All the testing. All the testing you need. We can do that.
Okay. And I think just keep having the conversations, chat about it with anyone and everyone. I think
definitely
the more we're talking about it, the more we might not feel necessarily so alone, or it might bring to our attention something that we're struggling with.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. I've loved it. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Sam. I will send all the information around, and any questions afterwards, let me know. And yes, thank you. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. Eat well as you can.
Sleep well.
All right. Sleep well, everyone. Bye.
Bye.